Hi, how are you doing? I feel it's been forever since the last recorded an episode because I went to Scotland, like I mentioned in my last episode, and then we came back and I had a shift that was just absolutely crazy. The whole week was just bananas, and it's taken me like a week to recover from that. And then I had so many other projects going on. So anyway, here I am because, as usual, I have something to say. Um, the other day I was listening to a podcast for entrepreneurs because I'm always like trying to find out like what's the best way to build your business. I just love this whole thing. And they were talking about is it a bad day or is it a bad business? Like because as if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a clinic owner, you'll know this as well. Like sometimes you just want to throw everything away and just walk away, especially when you get a big tax bill. And it really made me think about the concept of when we have a bad shift and or we even have a bad consult and how our brain just hones in on that, like gets tunnel vision around this one thing, this one complaint, this one bad shift, and how it kind of distorts it a bit in our brain, no, and makes us really feel that our job or the profession in general isn't great. No. So I really want you to think about and notice when these things happen, because once we go into fight and flight, and once we go into feeling threatened or feeling there's a feeling overwhelmed, like there's this big problem I can't see myself out of, the brain just its negativity bias will just like pound on this one thing and it would not let you see other things. Just like when you have a bad day in business or when you have like, I don't know, like I assume a lot of women are listening to me, and I know with your hormones, do you ever have these days where like I feel like sometimes Bruce, I'm like, why did we even marry? Like he doesn't understand me and he doesn't do anything I want him to, and what is going on, and next day I'm like, oh, actually we're absolutely fine. It was just my hormones, and it's just something he said that just completely triggered me. But like I've learned to manage it a much better way now, but I swear to God that years ago, like we've been together for like 2009. So what's that? Like 27, what? Wait, no, 17 years now. And that would like every month I would have a little burst of like we just need to get a divorce. Like, what are we even doing together? And I feel like that tunnel vision we can get with our hormones, with our partners. And I'm telling you, perimenopause is no joke. But luckily, I know how to manage my mind. Um, haha. I feel this happens in the profession as well. Like our relationship with the veterinary profession is a bit like being in a relationship with a partner. And when that partner just doesn't understand us and doesn't do what we want them to do and just seems to be in our way and doesn't even like they don't even like us, like why are they with us in the first place? Because maybe they said this one thing. Um, then it just like all the good stuff just is not there. And I have a friend, one of my friends I talk to a lot, and I think I've mentioned it before. Like, I hope she never listened to this podcast, but she's not, so this should be fine. She's not it. And she does like tend to. The last time we met, and she was talking about her partner. They've been together a good bunch of years as well. And she was like, he doesn't do this, and he does this, and then this and the other, and I think he likes blah blah. Blah. And I'm just like, how would it be if you were not together? I'm just thinking like, is there any point in being together with all this negative stuff? And he's like, oh no, the good stuff outweighs it. I'm just telling you all the bad stuff. And I'm like, I mean, I'm starting to not even like him with all the stuff you're telling me. Like, why? And I do like him. He's an amazing guy. He's so sweet. And I'm like, I don't, what you're telling me doesn't really like, it doesn't click with how I know him. But, and the same thing happens in our profession, right? We just over focus on this one thing. So if you had a bad day, does that necessarily mean that the whole week was shit or that your whole job is just shit and nobody like gets you and it's just not good? No. So I've definitely, when I've had complaints, then my brain has started to spin out in, well, what's the point? I do my best and people are so ungrateful. And, like the person that complained over me placing an intravenous catheter in front of them during a euthanasia. And in my eyes, I was like, hey, listen, I'm putting my pride on the line here, trying to place a catheter in front of you and maybe messing up and not getting it right, because I want you to be with your pet. So my brain was definitely all in there and like, what's the point in this job? And nobody appreciates it. And when was the last time that my management like even appreciated me, and it just span out. And I think that is completely normal. And because our brain finds a problem, there's a problem here now, we want to solve it, and why is it a problem, and how are there so many other problems, and let's just sum them up in a long list now. But it is important to be able to break the cycle and break this loop that is self-feeding all the time, where your brain is just like, yeah, I remember that time, I remember this time and that, and they didn't help you, and then the phone was ringing and blah blah blah. And I went into a bit of this time when I worked. We had a really busy week, and there came a point where I couldn't catch up on my sleep because for some odd reason, again, I had signed up for like social stuff when I was supposed to sleep. I was like, I'll get enough sleep. I didn't. So I got really, really tired, and definitely my brain started to like spin out in negativity, and I have to like catch it on the go, no? So when you feel this, when you feel that like this is just not worth it, the job is not for me, this is like, is it really true? Like really question and be curious, or was it just a bad day? And here again, like journaling is your best friend. There's nothing like writing down and then you're like, then once you start journaling, I'm a bit like when I do that with Bruce, it comes out a bit like, I don't know if you're a Bridget Jones fan, where she's sitting in the Thai prison, and they're talking about she's talking to like I think a Thai prostitute sitting next to her, and like, why are you in jail? And they were talking about their boyfriends, and he's like, yeah, my boyfriend, he beat me and he killed someone and he raped me and he did this, and then Bridget Jones like, yeah, yeah, Mark, he folds his underpants as well, which is like really annoying, So you start like finding these things that are like, once you write it down, once you start journaling, you realize that your partner's actually not a serial killer. It's just a bit annoying the way they breathe or they chew or whatever. Is that really worth, divorcing them over? And it's the same with your profession. If you start writing down, so what was actually annoying by the day today, like what was it actually that bothered me? Once you have it in front of you, you can see clearly what is actually going on. You can be like, oh my God, I'm being really negative. It's actually not this bad. Or maybe it is bad. Maybe you are in a really toxic clinic. Well, hey, you need to get your mind and emotional capacity together to actually make a decision of whether you want to stay or not. But don't stay in this state of, I don't like this is not right. This is like everything is just shit, when it might not actually be. And one of the ways you can really calm yourself down and come to a place where you have a bit more of a bird's view, a bit more of a perspective, is by being really, really kind to yourself. And this is something, it just gets my hackles up every time when people talk about self-care, self-compassion, be kind to yourself and all that, because I just like, it just seems so, they just seem such empty words to me, like, oh, give you like, go and have a massage. And what the fuck is that going to help? I'm just like, we're understaffed. Why would I want to have like, I don't know, walk around in salt water? It's just not. But there is a part of us that I see as well, like when I speak to others, we are incredibly harsh to ourselves. Um, and someone compared it to like if we talk about like a child, right? Your kid comes home, and if you have children or nephew or niece, it comes home and they're like, oh my God, I studied so hard for this test and I didn't pass it. Or, oh my God, I feel I have no friends. Like nobody's want to come to my birthday. Like imagine you saying to them, oh, well, you're absolutely useless. Of course you didn't pass your test. Like, no matter how much you study, like your brain is just never gonna get there. Or you're not a very nice kid, so why would anybody want to be friends with you? Like, there's that. Like, nobody would ever say that, right? But sometimes we think that being kind to ourselves and showing compassion is just not doing that, like not being harsh to ourselves. And I hear that all the time. Like Bruce sometimes say to himself, oh God, I'm such a dick. I'm like, stop saying that to yourself. Like, don't speak to you that way. But being nice and kind to ourselves is not just not telling ourselves that we're useless and hopeless and why the fuck did we do that? But it's actually that little extra step of giving yourself some space and giving yourself space to recognize I am feeling really worn out right now. I'm feeling really stressed right now. Or I'm feeling really upset right now. Or I'm feeling disappointed. Or I'm really anxious about this. Like just like acknowledging it. Like acknowledge like this is I'm not feeling like the way I want to right now. What is going on? And just take a little moment, like as you would for that kid that comes home crying. I'm not going to start talking about your inner child because then you're going to turn me off. But really give yourself that space and that moment to say, like, I'm really upset. This dog died, or these people complained, or like nothing worked for me today. I couldn't work, like nobody wanted to pay, and they told me I was just in it for the money. Like, actually give yourself a little moment to just think, take a breath and tell you, like, notice how you're feeling and say, like, I'm feeling really anxious after this. And of course I do, because it's normal. Like, it's not normal to be exposed to so much like trauma and abuse in one day and still feel great. So of course I feel bad. And then you can actually take a moment to then reflect on, what was it actually that made me feel this bad? No, what was it actually that came up? No, I had a case. I had a case this week with, and I'm not gonna like trauma dump on you. So, but basically, there was a big accident that happened. The police brought some animals into us, and I had to call the owners, and it was like incredible, sad and tragic, and just not nice. And it really, really took me out. And we had just had before that a bulldog that had been in a status epilepticus for like 3 hours, and I could not get the owners to put this poor dog to sleep. That also had all other things. So those two together, I just noticed I was drained. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We hadn't stopped, and having to deal with this like really tragic, like Titanic level tragedy, in my head anyway. That was too much. So I was like, okay, everybody else are taken care of. They have their meds. Like right now, nothing's coming in. Like, and we still have to write his stories. We still had to clean up. I think we had a procedure we had to do. There was still like a ton of shit to do. And I was like, I don't really care right now if I'm gonna have like a few things to do for the day team right now, because I can feel that my brain and my heart right now cannot continue. I need a break. I need to just switch off. And in that moment, I was way too worked up and too anxious and too like, overstimulated to sit down and breathe, or to like process or do anything. So I said, like, let's just have a cup of tea, and we had like some scones. So let's sit and eat the scones. And I just grabbed my Kindle, and for like just 20, 30 minutes, I just sat and read about dragons and stuff, because I noticed I needed to do this. I needed to deflate. I needed to just let my whole nervous system just come down and step away from the clinic a moment. I took that time for me. And that meant the next day, I think there was a stitch up to do for the day team still, but that stitch up had been left for me as well. So it was not like, I was like, I can't do it. I just can't. I could physically, but I knew that if I kept going, I might make a mistake, and I might get to the end of a night in a state that I would just not be able to function. It was just too much. No. So we have to recognize as well, when something happens that is just so big that it's unusually traumatic, like give yourself that space. And when you give yourself that space, you don't come to the end of the shift to a moment where you say, I hate this profession, I want to leave. And you might be saying, well, I have a really busy night shift. How the fuck do you think I can sit down and read a book? But you know what? Like, you wanna be in the night shift. You wanna do your shift because you wanna help pets, you wanna help the owners, and you want to help the owner of the clinic. You want them to have a business running, right? But you wearing yourself out to the point where you leave the profession, you're not gonna be able to help anybody, right? So if you need to turn a case away, if you need to leave something for the next shift, if you need to say to an owner, look, I said I was going to stitch this up or do the x-rays tonight, but I don't have time or whatever, and move it to the next day. Can they, or if it's a day shift, like, we'll do it tomorrow. It can stay hospitalized, like, and cancel something else. Like, I'd rather you cancel a procedure, or you cancel a pet, or you don't take out any more in, than you canceling yourself completely as a vet, because shift after shift you wear yourself out, and you never give yourself this little break to have a perspective and realize that things are actually not that bad. Because I for sure that night where with the epileptic dog and this tragedy happened, I had other stuff that went really well, right? Does my brain recognize or remember any of that? No, heck no. I would have to sit and look at the diary to say, oh yeah, that actually went really well. Oh yeah, we did this, lots that stone from this dog's mouth, whatever it was. Like, I don't remember that because my brain is only focused on the problem. But at least I gave myself that little space to like, whew, okay, now I can continue, you know? And I think we need to be a bit more selfish. I think compassion, self-kindness. I think that is also being a bit more selfish. We need to be more selfish in the moment, because otherwise we get to a point where we just switch off and we leave the profession, or you leave the clinic because now you hate it. So I'd rather have that you express that hate, that tiredness, that exhaustion in the moment, and say, well, no, like, we're canceling this. I'm taking a break, and not feel bad about it, rather than feel bad, never get a perspective, never be able to see things differently, and then leave the profession. No? So that's what I wanted to say today. Like, it's a combination of my own experience and what I've seen in others as well. And obviously I'm reading this book, Self-Compassion, by Kristen Neff as well. So I'm like a super specialist in that. She doesn't actually say anything I didn't know, but I love hearing things. I know if you're like that, like hearing things, reading things in just like that slightly different way, and you kind of internalize it and interpret it differently. You know, it's a bit like when you have physiology explained to you, or like the ECGs I need to have explained to me in so many different ways, because I forget about it. So that's what I wanted to say today. And I also really want to reiterate, like, I cannot say how much coaching helps in this. I've just had I was just had a session the other day with a client that literally would have panic attacks, that hated the profession, that wanted to leave now. And she's thriving so much now. And now we're literally looking at, she just continued with me because she just likes, keep weeding out little things here and there, but how, like, now she's just looking at really, really, really light things. No, now we are touching on, like, well, what clients do you want to fire, and how can you maybe get a bit more out of your day, like, as opposed to like huge life and death questions we were having like a year and a half ago when we started coaching. And there's another I was catching up on another client as well that just has some loose sessions once in a while, just whenever something happens. She just feels like talking through some stuff, and like she literally said, and I can't remember if I mentioned it, but she said, like, oh my God, like, I cannot say how much coaching has changed my life because this happened and this happened, and look how I reacted to you. And my mom said to me, this is her telling me, right? My mom said to me, oh my God, you are so different now. You're so much happier. Why didn't you do this coaching years ago, right? And I don't think about it because obviously I see them week by week and I see them getting better. So I don't really notice it. It's a bit like when you have a dog with skin disease. If you don't take pictures on the first day, 2 months in your treatment, like, you don't really see how much better they are. And the owner might say to you, oh, it's actually not any better because it's not like fully back to normal with full fur. But you show them picture from the first day with the pyoderma and they're like, oh yeah, no shit, it is better. So for me, it's a bit the same. So unless actually the vets I coach, unless they kind of say to me, oh, remember how bad this was, like, I don't really, it doesn't click for me how much it helps. And for you, those of you that really struggle with journaling, like, I cannot be bothered sitting down journaling, or who think that you need to learn a lot of stuff. I have my course where you can, because I just love nerding out on this. Whenever I can, I'm sitting down reading about this stuff, or listening to podcasts about mental health, or reading any psychology books. But if right now your mental and your emotional capacity is not in a place where you feel like you can even sit down and journal because it's just like, it just seems overwhelming, and you don't want to learn a ton of shit about like how to manage your mind, like, then coaching is amazing because all you have to do is literally show up and just like word vomit, and you don't have to like have this like case prepared in your head. Well, I want help with this because this is what happened. No, you just like blah. And because I'm a coach, I then, me or any other coach, right, will be able to like pick out where the problem is really quickly, because that's what we trained in. No, and because I've been there myself, I can recognize it so quickly. Like, my sessions now, it's like we just coach on stuff, and we have like 50 minutes, and in the first 20 minutes, it's like this, like, they come with this big, heavy, whatever it is, and we solve it. And then we start looking at other things as well. And they just leave different persons every time. So coaching is both, like, long term, it will change your life. Like, you will look back in a year, 2, 6 years from now, look back, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did coaching. Look at how it's changed my life. But it's also, you come into the session and you leave a different person. You come in with, like, a knot in your stomach and this thing that's just like spiraling, and you cannot imagine how I could ever help with that, because obviously there's a problem and you will not be able to solve it. And how can somebody who's not with you, like, this is a physical thing, like, you need to solve for this complaint. And obviously I can tell you the answer to that, but I can put you into a space where you have the mental and you have the emotional capacity to deal with all of it, right? So that's really what I wanted to say. Because a lot of my clients come to me and you've already tried reading this and doing that and tried by yourself for so long, and then you're like, your mom says to you, oh my God, why didn't you just do this coaching long before? So if it's something that you're thinking about, I would not wait, right? Don't be that, like, this moment is not, like, years ago could be now for you, right? So you don't look in 2 years, you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, should have done this before, right? So you can reach out for a free consult with me anytime. And my calendar is pretty booked, and it looks like I'm working really hard, but it's actually because I have so many visitors and I have so many plans, and I book time off because I don't want to have like one consult at like 1 p.m. on a Tuesday, and then so I can't go anywhere. But if you want a consult and it doesn't work with you, just email me and then we'll arrange one, because then I have a bit of like, then I can plan around it. because obviously it's summer, I want to have some days off, but I can definitely fit you in like at some point, if it doesn't come up on the calendar for you. And also if you just want to email me and say, hey, I was thinking about coaching, but I'm in this situation, do you think it would work with me? And then we can have a call and talk about it, you know. And it's not like you come on the call and then I'm like, well, you had a free consult call, now you have to sign up with me. That's not the case at all, right? It's like, it's kind of like to meet each other, because there needs to be some chemistry, right? I met some people there's been no chemistry, and then we're like, fine, maybe like, okay, I have this other person might be you can be interested in, or try this instead. No, so that is, you have literally nothing to lose by coming on a consult call with me, and I get something out of it as well, right? Because I learn another thing I hadn't thought about. People could be stressed out over, because there's so many ways we stress, and so many ways our brains work. So it gives me material for me to make my post and make my podcast, and me constantly evolving as well. So it's a win-win for everybody, and I would really encourage you to book a consult like yesterday, so you can see this for yourself. Because if you're listening to you, there's some part of you that is some sort of like overwhelmed, right? It's the Overwhelmed Vet podcast, and you might come to a point where you don't want to be looking back in 5 years time and like, oh my god, I should have done this a long time ago. All right, so that's what I want to encourage you to do. I love you. Have an amazing week. Bye.